Hello, everybody. This is Tal. Uh, Welcome to the podcast. Uh, Disclaimer: any religious, political agenda, ideology of identity, or anything that is a controversial topic other than the topic that is being had and has anything else to do with Jediism, as biased as that sounds, and if the conversation is swayed from that itself, will not be acknowledged due to it's my podcast and that's what I choose. So, with that being said, and the disclaimer, oh, and also sexuality and all that identity, whatever, shall not be recognized in this. So, now with that being said, let's uh let's get on to this thing here. So, wealth, value, and enrichment. And when people bring that up, and I might be talking about and beating a dead horse here with this, but maybe it's just not said enough, is that people want to talk about wealth and enrichment in many ways, as in monetary wise, and not in a spiritual aspect or perspective or perception. So, but let's dive off into how we can look at that into a spiritual aspect. Let's say we're looking at a way to enrich our lives. How might one want to do that? Well, one might want to look at a way to fatten your wallet, um, and one might look as or see as though their life has become more enriched because of their financial wealth, or to them that adds value on a um, on a non-meaning object having aesthetic pleasure. Maybe
Materialism.
that's, huh?
Materialism.
Materialistic. Yes, material. That's the word I'm looking for. So one might look at that as in materialistic, but how far does that really take us? How much is that actually worth? What's the value in that other than bragging rights and a way to pad your own ego, or in a way to get attention, to way to make yourself seem important, right? So, but in this, let's look at the other side of that. That value and enrichment and the wealth can be gained from spiritually how we grow. How we grow with letting ourselves see things from just a shallow point of view of everything that's materialistic and monetary. And but people want to look at this in a way of what they don't have. People want to look at, well, I'm without this, I'm without that. Can you take all that with you when your time comes? Can you take your house? Can you take your big boat, your car, your $200,000, $300,000 Ferrari or Lamborghini or $3 million Bugatti with you? Unless you want to be buried in it. Now, if you've got the money to do that, then sure. Or maybe throw all that aside and then find another way to enrich your own life to where all of that doesn't really have that much of a meaning. Throw all of that aside and take all that away and simplify everything. Because the simplest man can be far more full of wealth from his personal growth and his spiritual health than anything monetary and materialistic. Now, sure, if one wants to look at it in another way, that with all of that and having a good attitude with everything, he can gain financially by being productive, and his mindset of being the best person possible to gain all of that, then all of that would have much more wealth and value to him, and the enrichment, provided his goal and mindset is to have all that just to spend time with people and the enjoyment of that and help enrich other people's lives by that contact and social interaction. And that would be valuable. That would enrich people's lives because of the happy that could happen from it, or the joyous time shared. And not so much of what they're doing with, but that time itself, the simpler part of it, the simpler part of life, the experience and who it's with. So, but if one is without any spiritual growth, wouldn't that just be kind of an action? Wouldn't they be spiritually poor? Wouldn't they be self poor? Wouldn't there be much less to look forward to in life? Sure, you might get joy out of driving a $250 Bugatti. Sure, you might get joy out of driving a 200-mile-an-hour Ferrari or Lamborghini, or going 120 mile an hour on a boat on the water. That I can appreciate. But however, does that really hold any value? What's the value in that? What about any of that can you just truly hold on to without a price? You can sell all that stuff away and your life would be no different. It could come and go. So would it really mean anything? Unless you're just so caught up in being noticed by what you have that people can physically see. But let's look and say you're that guy or that person that you might have all that stuff, yet coming across and being around you has a different aura about it. That maybe as you see that Bugatti, you would look deeper into it as the workmanship that goes into it, the care that goes into the finer details of the seat or how well things fit together. Then that would hold value because of the care of the workmanship. And if one is looking deeper, and if you look into the work one may do with themselves, the workmanship would show on this person isn't about the money. This person isn't about what they own in materialistic items. Now, let's face it, a lot of people would like to have a nice car. I don't take that away from anybody. I can appreciate a $3 million car as much as anybody. I can appreciate what that car provides in entertainment and the exhilaration of going that fast. I can appreciate that. And however, though, if the experience doesn't hold any value to you, then what is it really worth to have and to be able to experience it? Now, if we're spiritually in a good place and we've grown that way as a person, then that experience would mean so much more. And I'm not saying that there is a exchange here. I'm saying that if one is in a good place with themselves in life and is already mentally and emotionally in a good place because of their spiritual health, that is where one's life can truly be enriched. That's where one's life can mean more value. Because once one has gained that place, that enlightenment, that becomes valuable. It holds an importance. So Other than that, is any of what else one may experience, what one may have, really worth anything? Because we can look for all these things to momentarily bring a rise or a rise in our feelings and how we see the world. And then for the moment while we're in that car and observing around us and going, man, life's great. I'm in a $3 million car. But is that $3 million car worth $3 million if you can't appreciate it? If you can't appreciate where you're at as a person, to actually enjoy that. Even if you sit down and just have a hamburger, which is a far cry from a $3 million car. And that's a completely different thing. But if you think about it, if that hamburger is going to be just a hamburger, but unless one is in a good place mentally, it wouldn't be the hamburger. It would be the time you sit down with somebody and have that time with them. It's not the hamburger. The hamburger is just a catalyst to sit down. But yet, maybe we're fighting to try to find that. And we don't understand where wealth and value and enrichment happens. Value is what we hold dear. Those are the things that are important to us. And if we grow as a person and spiritually, we have, in a way, brought ourselves around to a place, then that has value and our lives are enriched because of it, because there's more meaning in that. But that takes investment. You can't have all of that without the investment and time into it. So all of that is really not, unless you've invested the time in it, the work into it. Because after all, to get that $3 million Bugatti, you had to invest in the time to be able to accumulate that money, that monetary wise. You had to work hard to get there. And I'm only using a Bugatti as an example. I'm only using it because it's relatable. And for those of you who don't know what a Bugatti is, if I'm not mistaken, it's from a car maker that started out as a very simple man who had a passion to create one of the world's finest cars and has a very rich racing history. who's an Italian. Started out from simple, humble background. And then ended up making a major company that makes $3 million cars. So, in that, from a humble beginning, and his drive and his passion is what drove him, no pun intended, to creating a very beautiful car, a reputable car. And to him, that experience is valuable. It's invaluable. And the wealth from his experiences and what was gained, the people he met, the people that came and went into his life, that one memorable person that just stuck in his brain. And the time it took for him to get there. The appreciation of that is a value. And he started out with nothing. So, again, if we go back to you take all that away, unless you're a mindless robot, all that stuff, all those things that we've accumulated in our lives, experiences, personal knowledge, personal growth, spiritual growth, wouldn't mean anything to us, wouldn't mean shit. And if it doesn't mean a thing to us in our own lives about who we are, why in the hell would we appreciate anything else if we didn't? Spiritually, we would be able to run two dimes together, would we? Our morals wouldn't have any meaning to us. Our ethics would be worthless. Our compass would be broken. Now, I say this because there are many of us who start out from in humble beginnings, maybe come from a broken past. So, in a way and in a sense, the person who comes from a humble beginning that had nothing may have the same value in what they've gained as the person that came from a broken past and built themselves up to something greater. And that in a way, both those would have the same value because you had to work to get to where you are within. So, in the way, does what one experience enrich us any less? No, I would think not. So, if your life was crappy prior to, yes, all that does hurt, all that is painful. However, though, if you look at it, if it wasn't for that, then where you are still wouldn't mean a thing, because that's what incited the motivation to start investing, to get that wealth, to get that value, to get that enriched life. Now, pardon me for digressing in any of this, but however, it's easy to forget where we came from, who we were beforehand, what we were before that. That should still hold some type of meaning to us. That should still have a place of the highest value there is. Not to take yourself back and feel degraded or demeaned. No, because if it wasn't for that, one wouldn't want to take the time to invest to gain that wealth of information that helped and enable you to grow. Now, I know in my podcast and these things, I try to keep it down and broken down and sometimes in the most simplest terms. That way it's easy to be related to. Okay. Because I know not everybody that's going to listen to this, hopefully, isn't going to be walking around with $2,000 in their pocket all the time. And if you are, more power to you. I'm glad your life has become that. And glad you're in a place that life has treated you well. Or more, should I say, you've treated life well. And that you did the job and you've done the work. And that hopefully you're not missing anything else. And I hope your fortune continues. But in the process, even if you have that $2,000 in your pocket, are you also enriching other people's lives by, if you're that good person, to provide a sense that you've included others in a different way other than just monetarily? Instead of just buying things and including people to just show a good time. Maybe you're doing something productive that's helping others out. And they're benefiting and their lives are becoming better. But would that really mean anything to them unless, in another way, some other way, they were not fit mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and their ego was still too fragile. So let me ask a question for each of us. What really has meaning to you? What really has value? Where do you really have your wealth? Where do you really have that enriched life? And don't pretend, don't say something to look good, don't answer to yourself to make yourself feel better. Don't hide behind just to say it. Truly mean it. Be honest with yourselves. Are you walking around truly in a good place with yourself in that aspect? Or are you walking around as a poser, appearing to only project? If you're the one that is real and says, hey, I'm only working at this and I've gotten better and I feel better, but I'm still not there yet. Or you could be the person going, yeah, my life's great. Man, I don't know where I would be without all this, without everything I've experienced already. And I I'm just in awe. Which would you rather believe? Which would you rather think would have more to offer? The one that says I'm still working on it, but I'm getting there, but I'm better than I was? Or the guy that has so much more? And he's like, man, my life is just awesome. It's great. Both would have a place in that. Both would be and could be the same person. Because maybe really actually they are. But on the other hand, maybe that one who said, I'm just not there yet, but I'm getting better, is actually the one you shouldn't listen to. Because if he's been at it and his life is still crappy, but the guy that's got everything, maybe it was because of his change of attitude and how he saw his life is what got him there. Maybe he ended up being that guy that couldn't rub two nickels together and his life was really crappy. And he said, I'm getting better, and still holds that same attitude. And with having everything, he still realizes and still remains humble. And that would be a person that would have value in his life, would have enrichment in his life, would have wealth. And I'm not making this about monetary things. I'm not making this about about materialism thing, but it's easy to relate that so many of us would like to be that guy spiritually who has all of those things. And yes, that was a metaphorical aspect of it that I put out there with it. Yes, metaphorically, we can think we have a Bugatti and our lives are that well. And we could be the person in thinking that, and we are the one that is only rubbing two nickels together, barely. I played a trick on you, didn't I, guys? Our lives can feel like that. And we can not have a lot as far as items go in our lives. And that's okay. Doesn't make you worth any less than the person who is a CEO. And don't be critical about, well, that CEO has got all that boat and everything because he's getting kickbacks and he's looking out just for the bottom line so he can get his new yacht. Don't look at it like it. Don't diminish somebody else's hard work because he might have been that guy that ended up working from the mailroom up and spiritually enriched himself, mentally changed himself, emotionally straightened himself out, and then grew, and then became, because of those changes in his lives, is the one that got up into the CEO, and yet still holds that attitude from his humble beginnings from being in that mailroom. We could not forget where we came from because with all of that, it would be worthless. And I might be talking in circles here, and maybe I'm trying to drive a point home here. I've been known to overdo something just to make a point. However, maybe the person that is up in that CEO position is as corrupt as a mob boss. Now, and don't go pointing fingers at everything else going on around you about what this group of people is doing and that other group of people is doing, and that right now everything in this world is a mess. Don't go there with it because then you'll diminish where you are. And then you'll take away from what's really important. Don't do that to yourselves. So while I'm on this rant, And hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. Think about where you are. Think about what might you hold dear. Think about what truly means something to you. Where is your life actually enriched? What's valuable? Think about all that. Think about a day that may be cloudy, but yet, if your life and yourself is okay, it could be a day at the beach. And I could go on and on and on about so much of this. And I say this because there was a time that my life, as I saw it, didn't have much meaning to it, didn't have much value to me. And my aim in part of this, or in a lot of this, is to share with the work that I've put in to get me out of that mindset of wanting it to end in a very easy way, in a very dark place, to and in a very bad place. And I know a lot of people say, well, I was in a very dark place and all that, but I'm talking truly in a place where you were ready for it to end in a moment. Where if that moment happened, you might think to yourself, I'm finally free. Everything in my life that I suffer with no longer exists. That kind of place. A place where you hate getting up. A place that every time you looked at yourself in the mirror, you wanted to throw something in the mirror and you hated yourself and you held yourself as you were nothing better than just the dirt in the carpet. That if we hold ourselves and bring ourselves and start to see that we are of value, that we are an investment, that we are and can be of wealth, and that we can have value, then yeah, we can we can get to a place of where those days, sure, they'll be remembered. Sure, there'll be a day that we can reflect on, and they will have meaning to us. Sure, they will have importance because those are the reminders, and that was the motivation for us to think differently, for us to change our perspective and our outlook. So really and truly, all those dark days, all those dark times, all those moments to where I can't take it anymore have value. They have importance. So don't discount them any less. Those are the things that actually got put in the piggy bank to invest into yourself with. Those are the things that made you wealthy. Those are the things that have meaning and value. I know it sounds counterintuitive. I know it sounds contradictory. But however, if you're in that place that I described where I was at, then that will be relatable to you, hopefully. And maybe today is that day you take that last bump and you get help. Maybe it's the day that you go, I'm done with where I am. I need more. I'm done with where I am and just feeling like crap and looking like shit. And I want to look and feel better. Or at least if I can't look better and I'm just one of those people that just has that exterior that is like, oh my God, that guy looks as rough as a grizzly bear. But you look into their eyes and you see the color on their face, and they are the best person to be around in the world. I've got a friend like that. The dude looks like he's intimidating as hell, but he's a big teddy bear. He's a loyal friend. He's a good friend. Wouldn't trade him for the world. A big giant of a man, to like 6'4", probably pushing right around 280. But you can tell that where he's been from and where he's at now, he holds everything in his life dear. He holds his wife dear, his kids, his dogs, his hobbies. Those all have meaning to him. So let me pose a question to each of you. And think about this long and hard. Where is it that you see yourselves? How do you see yourselves? What do you see yourselves as? And what do you want to do and willing to do to improve what you have? And to have all those things, that wealth, that enrichment, and that value. Now, to some people, all those might be the same thing. That's fine. Or you might see them differently. Maybe you might be that person who has a wealth of knowledge that people can ask you things about. That's important. Or you can be the person who is of real value because of what you actually offer and you bring. And you're solid. Or you can have the person who truly feels enriched. And that's what you hold to the highest standard and the expectations from it. So, which one of those are you? Or would you like to be all three? If that be the case for any one of them or all together, go for it, do it. Now, I may come back to this later on and revisit this topic again. But however, think about that in that question, if you would. And then go on with your lives and just at some point examine it and reflect back. Because as Jedi, we have to do that. We have to look back. We have to do that in order to grow, in order to become. So anyway, I know I got on a rant and I get on a rant on these. I get on a rant about these a lot. However, this is important, and hopefully, it shakes up the community or those enough, or maybe it offers something just to help somebody get through the day, or maybe it might change somebody else's life. I don't know. Hopefully, it does something for everybody. Anyway, wish you all a good day, good night, good morning, good evening. Oh, and while you're at it, why don't you go out and just howl at the moon for a moment, just because, and enjoy it. Anyway, all of y'all have a good one. Tal Griffin out. Thank you. Be good. Take care of each other. Bye.